Today we are going to be working on adding integers using number lines and integer chips. The two pieces of vocabulary that I want to focus on that will help us with our lesson today are zero pairs and opposites. Zero pairs are when you have a pair of numbers whose sum is zero, like -10 and 10. When you add -10 and 10, you get 0. And then we've talked about opposites before. Opposites are on the opposite side of the number line. So numbers whose sum is 0. So 45 is the opposite of -45 because when you look at a number line, 45 is on the opposite side of 0 when compared to -45, and together their sum is 0. These two things go hand in hand. If they're opposites, they form a zero pair. If they form a zero pair, then they're opposites. This will help us to answer this next question. Which of the following are a set of zero pairs? So let's look at set A. Set A, we have a -12 and we have a +12. This is a zero pair because those are opposites. And -12 plus 12 will give us 0. Let's look at set B. These numbers have a different magnitude. 1.5 is a different amount than 1.7. Even though one is negative and one is positive, they're not opposites of each other. So this is not an example of a zero pair. All right, set C. 5 and -5. This is an example of a zero pair because one of these is positive and one of these is negative. So when you add them together, 5 plus -5, you get 0. Set D almost looks like it's a zero pair, except for they're both negative. And so this is not a zero pair because -8 plus -8 equals -16, not 0. Set E, again, this looks like it might be a set of zero pairs, but they're both positive. For it to be a set that forms 0, one has to be positive, one has to be negative. So this is not a zero pair set. Set F, +3/2 and -3/2, this is a zero pair because these are opposites. So when you add these together, you get 0. Oops, didn't mean to do that. Let me fix that. And then set G, this is also a zero pair because these are opposites. We have a -6/10 and a +6/10. So when you add those together, you get 0. All right, I hope that you understand zero pairs a little bit better. We had 3 sets that were not zero pairs, and then we had 1, 2, 3, 4 sets that were zero pairs. And the next thing you need to know to be ready for today is that when you see one of these yellow integer chips, sometimes people will call them yellow counters, or they will call them integer chips. And a yellow chip represents a +1. So whenever you see today a yellow integer chip, you need to know that that equals +1. When you see a red integer chip, I need you to know that that represents -1. So again, this could be called a red counter, or it could be called a red integer chip. And the red integer chips represent -1.